Good morning, it's I have to check actually, February the 16th. We're just a bit further in from one of the videos we just done recently. We just had a look at some Roe Deer droppings. They're just a bit further up here. What we're doing here is we actually followed a bit further the trail that we looked at last time, which is going much more into this thicket here, and you can see here quite obvious evidence of the Roe Deer having come through. Just on the ground here, just to hit this print here, is the print of one of the hooves of a Roe Deer pushing into the mud. There's another one a bit further back, just here, another one here as well. So you know you're following something here that's not like a badger. However, moving a bit further forward, and if we go to here, on this piece of bramble, we got indicative white hairs, which would suggest probably badger coming through as well. And unfortunately my dog's also pushed through, so we've also got the hair from my dog as well. But if you can see, there's another print here as well. This is something sizable that has, again, you got prints here as well, and here. Again, this is something stepping into the soft ground. Now the ground actually isn't all that soft, so this suggests something that's fairly heavy, pushing something that's fairly thin into the ground. So that's like a leg of a Roe Deer going into the ground. If we move forward a bit further, and here we've got a couple of trails. Laughing because my dog's coming through. You can see coming in, going in underneath this conifer here, and this is something that's, you can tell from the track the kind of height of the animal that's making. There's another one going here, going in to this bit of woodland. If this was a badger, you wouldn't get quite so much disturbance at the top pushing through. So when I was young, I used to see these row tunnels, as I used to call them, because when I was kind of only that high, you could walk along them and you'd have quite dense young plantations like this. They would push and make all these kind of magical tunnels into the small plantation areas. So this is again what's happening here. Is you've got at least roe. We know we've got badger as well making a way through, and just on the outside of this trail coming in, we've got fox as well pushing through. So although the bramble might be probably the hair of my dog, there also might be mixed in with that some of the more ginger hair of a fox coming through as well. It also explains why my dogs are so interested in going in here and ferreting around amongst all this scrub. I'm not going to go in any further just because it's fairly covered in brambles in there, but again we're building up a picture of this particular row, if it's just one, moving through this bit of woodland. And again we've got a bramble, and again this is probably you can't quite see, but this is the hair left by my dogs coming through. So this is the kind of thing you'd also get. The dog pushes through underneath that high, you know, and so a badger will be doing exactly the same thing. Badger's about the same height as my hand here. Oh. So again, this is a trail rather than a run. It's a trail in that it's not species specific, but it's a variety of animals making their way into the woodland. So it makes a very good example of tracking a variety of species and the kind of marks and the kind of signs that they're leaving behind, and also getting some idea of the age of the sign as well, which of course is important when you're trying to track something. Is tracking something that has not been through 3 weeks ago and you're not liable to find it again. So the trails around here are all over the place, and it is sometimes amazing how much animal trail you get, yet when you're out and about you'll never see them because you're not out at that time of the day. Also, they are very wary of you, and more likely to make themselves scarce if they can hear you coming. So just move a bit further along this trail here. There we go. Again, good places to look, the dog doesn't step in it, is on areas like this where you might get a spore print. And I think you've got one just here, a little one side of the two-toe row, just cutting in here, just 1 and 2, just a bit there. And again, you've got some disturbance there as well, which looks roe-like as well. Well, at least deer-like. It is not helped by your dogs, obviously, walking along the same trail. Something to be wary of. And also, when you are tracking, rather than doing what I'm doing at the moment, which is looking directly at the ground, it's picking up tracks and then projecting it forward and going to the furthest bit where you think you can see that track, because otherwise, for a start, it takes a long amount of time to track if you're staying on the ground, and also you have to be aware of your surroundings and what it is you're trying to track, rather than just being concentrated on what's at your feet. So we're just working our way back up the track. Given that we went and saw a couple of days ago, it was a week ago, the prints from this, probably not the prints, the droppings from this row, it's always good to go back and have a look and see how those have changed over the time, just to get some feel for how things age in the environment you're in. So we're just wandering back up towards where, we see you've got another evidence here of fox scat on the ground, just here, being compressed, but you can smell it. It's very obvious. There's a couple of, at least there's 3 now, signs of fox scat along this particular trail. And then we move up, we're back to the Roe Deer pellets. Here we go. And as you see, there's not a huge amount of change in the in the week we've been away. It's rained quite a bit, had frost and a thaw as well, and actually, apart from a slight, they're not as smooth as they were, there's not a huge amount of change in these pellets that would be indicative of some kind of aging process going on. So that's an interesting observation, that these pellets from a Roe Deer haven't aged within the week. So again, we'll leave them, come back, have another look and see how they age over the next couple of weeks and over a month, and see how it all changes. Right, move back up. 16-year-old Labrador dog. What I have done is picked up just a Roe Deer trail, just a past where we were just about 4 minutes ago, looking at scat. Again, I wouldn't be looking into beyond this hedge because we've got livestock in this field, and so Roe are not likely to be going into that field. So when they got to the top of where we were, they would have gone either left or right along this trail here. Slightly confused by we've got horse having come through, which horse are renowned for digging up trails, particularly it's compared to mountain bikers. I think horses are worse when it comes to just kind of really mudding up a trail. But we've got here, he said, losing it, there we go, I shall try and get it down, there we go, just here there is the mark of a roe, and we had one just back here which, just as I saw it, the dog stepped on it. So it's partially obscured, but that was a roe print, and then what's happened is my dog has stepped on it, and that's her front two claws just going on top of the print. So it's an interesting how that's changed just by the fact that great big clumsy 16-year-old Labrador dog has just stepped on it. So anyway, we've got a roe going that way. It's fairly fresh because we had quite a lot of rain within about a day or so, and also the ground's quite soft. Also, just like in archaeology, things happen after other things. So for instance, my dog print sitting on top of the roe, you know the dog has passed over that print after the roe has been through. And equally the horse, just like you see here, you can now say that this horse, this is the back foot of the horse, because the front foots tend to go in more. The front half of the hoof on a horse tends to go into the ground more on the back print. So anyway, this horse came through, obviously, before my dog, because the dog print sits on top of the horse print. But anyway, we're following this roe. Again, roe doing what most animals do, following an obvious path. Now the only thing I'm going to be interested in is at what point does that roe deviate from this path. And the interesting thing is that at the moment I don't have to worry too much about it having gone left or right, just because there's nothing on the right here. There's no break into the scrub here, and again there's nothing here as well that shows something has penetrated. But what I am getting just there is the smell of fox again, very pungent smell of fox there. And then here I've got something has gone in and underneath. Now that's not roe, because it's just too small for roe, This is more likely to be rabbit by the sheer, just it's not big enough to be a badger. I see no badger prints as well at all, so this is more likely to be rabbits moving in and out of the deeper wood and the open areas for grazing. You don't get a huge amount of rabbits from this neck of the woods. I was brought up in an area where we had enormous amounts of rabbits before myxomatosis took hold, and you always saw rabbits. I rarely see a large number of rabbits around here. I actually see more hare than I do rabbit, and I don't sure why that is. It might just be that myxomatosis had a stronger effect here. They do shoot more rabbit here than where I was brought up as well, but I can't think that claims to be the reason. And we've got another, again, we've got another movement in to the woods here. Again, might be, I wouldn't thought that's going to be roe as well, just not big enough. Again, you're looking for almost them crossing this bit here. But given that, again, tracking is about taking the signs and then translating them into deductions about if you were a roe, what would you do? And I think I know what I would do if I was a roe, which is I'd work my way down this track. Again, I'm just keeping a general eye on the ground just to see what's going. Again, we've got very obvious horse prints. Again, front foot and 2 front feet and a back foot, and also this horse went up and back again. Again, you have to say it's what size of the horse is. It's not a huge horse, it's a fairly small horse, almost pony size I would have thought. It would obviously be carrying a person. You can make that deductions because it's not very feasible that a horse would be in here on its own or being led by another human. Also, I see no evidence of human prints with the horse, so this wasn't a horse being led. My deduction being, which is a fairly obvious one, is that this horse had somebody sitting on it who was riding it. It was a fairly small horse, therefore supposedly the person riding it is liable to going to be either a child or most likely to be a woman, just because you don't put a heavy man on a small horse. So again, you can make these kind of deductions. But anyway, if I was a roe, I would be moving down here. Again, I'm just looking for obvious signs on the ground in case there's any movement. And again, we've got another cross track here. You can just see it run in and into this bit here. It's a noticeable, this is a run. This is quite species specific. And again, I think this is rabbit. It's not wide enough to be badger. It's quite a thin run like that, so it's more like to be a rabbit. So, and this rabbit turned and it's come across the track and it's gone in again. And here you can see the movement in and through. And again, you'll be looking at the given that there's no evidence of hair on the brambles, suggests this isn't a big animal like a badger. This is liable to be something small like a rabbit. But if I was a roe, I would move down here, hang a right, and head up through here. And that's what would most likely, may not be right, but it's most likely what the roe has done. Just that this bit of the woodland is covered in roe tracks, and so I know that there is a roe, at least one, within here somewhere. I could be completely wrong, but I think I'm not, because just here on the ground, if we look, if I can, just here you've got now the classic example of something with a cloven hoof, small cloven hoof, going into the soft ground. And you've got another one here. You can just see slight breaking of the sharp brush as it's gone through and it's gone in here. You've got another one here. Again, the bracken's being pushed. I don't know if you can see that the bracken leaf is being pushed into the ground like that. So again, it's a small cloven-hoofed creature. We don't have many of them. This would be some species of deer, and it's going to be Roe. So we've got it moving up the line here. We've got some evidence of disturbance of the ground here. If you can see, this stuff is all being dug away from this bit here. Again, something has pulled back from here to get at something. Might be you're looking for evidence of tooth marks. Again, deer have got quite the way that they eat the grass. They kind of rip it rather than nibbling it. So you'll be looking at evidence of that. And here, if ever we wanted good evidence, is one hell of a large gap into the trees here. Humans don't come in here, well, not that often anyway. Something has made that very big gap into the trees, and I suspect that's probably, now is that going to be Roe? Thinking about it, it's too big. It's too monumental for it to be Roe. My first thought was that it's Roe, but actually looking at it, it's just too massive. It's too much of a opening. Roe just wouldn't be, even if they've been using it for a long time, would have made such a massive opening into the trees. And so my other instincts kick in. So, well, who else makes great big openings in trees like that? Well, it's us humans. So walking in, there is a nibbling of the sharp rushes, which is interesting. These nibbling, you can see if I move one up. It's difficult for me to do it this way, but the sharp rushes have all been nibbled on the entrance, and also they've been nibbled at a height which is 2.5 foot off the ground, which is good Roe deer height. But there's also an enormous amount of evidence of, well, we've got on the ground here these things which look remarkably like they've been cut with a tool. So I'm just going to walk my way along. Again, cut with a tool badly, but that looks like it's been, you can see the cut mark there. If I turn it towards the camera, you can see a noticeable cut mark just with my fingers tapping, where someone's giving that a wallop first time and then walloped it again. So this is quite obviously a trail of a human. You have to ask yourself, why would a human want to come in here? I'm just looking around and just seeing if there's any evidence well, you get things on the ground. Don't know what that is, but it's not natural. There are clays in here, broken bits of shooting clays on the ground here, like that. And it might be that what's happened here is that at some point someone set up a little camp, or this is been throwing out clays for shooting, or I wouldn't have thought so, but there's a huge amount of evidence here of removal of fur. And there's a little pool, which is what the dogs are walking around in, making a noise. But someone has obviously made their way in here. There's evidence of something being on the ground. That was me dropping the camera. There's a bit of flattening on the ground here. Again, you make deductions based on what do humans do. They like to sit on things. You've got to... There's been something sitting on here. There's a slight flattening of the moss. Something's sat on that, or been put on it. So these are the kind of things that that's a tracker. How long ago? Well, given that it can't be that long ago, because these things look fairly fresh, look fairly newly done. Again, you look at the ends, but I would say they're not that fresh, because the ends look a certain amount of age on them. Wait one moment, just going to... You have to stop the dogs going schizo, it's not good. So you have to learn not to go... They get so excited, they run around like a fiddler's elbow. It's something it has to be kind of... Eventually, when they get old enough, they have to be told not to do it, because it's not helpful. But this thing here, you see... Of course, this will dry at a different rate from the smaller ones because it's thicker wood. It's still green, you see, underneath. You can see under my thumb, that's all still green. So this is fairly recent. But also, other things have been using this. There we go. Well, I think I'm just going to move up here just and have a look a bit further up. Of course, what you could also be looking at is a hunter doing exactly what I'm doing, which is they know there's roe in here. You've got quite a good evidence here of movement through a roe. Again, you can see the individual hoof prints, cloven hoofs going into the ground. All around here there are depressions of, and then walking into the woods, and this goes into the back of where we were just about 10 minutes ago. Very interesting, very fascinating, particularly as a lot of this is quite fresh. And of course you're looking at a period of the year when the roe, if she's a doe, then she will be might be coming in to being pregnant. She would have been... Roe tend to have their mating season about July, August. Deer have delayed implantation, so actually a normal gestation period is about 10 months, but you think July, August, there's delayed implantation, and then around about this time of year they come into being pregnant, and then of course you have later on in the year, you've got the actual birthing, but she's beginning to be pregnant, so you'd be a roe beginning to be very wary of species of disturbances. So you become progressively shyer as the spring carries on, and of course in the winter they're not as shy because they're more interested in feeding, and the late autumn also is probably the time when they are at their least shyest, because they are desperately trying to eat enough to get enough fuel for the winter time. But this time of year, is now coming into spring, it becomes more of an issue because they just can't. They are very become more secretive. It also becomes harder as the leaf cover comes in, of course. This time of year it's still fairly, although we are here in conifer area which doesn't drop its needles, but when the spring comes on, the new growth comes in, you've got the leaf cover, the new grass and everything else, and so everything becomes becomes harder because everything becomes more dense in terms of the ground cover. Right, we shall stop there.